Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to GW Center for Integrative Medicine. I'm your co-host, Dr. Kogan, Medical Director, Associate Professor of Medicine here at George Washington University. And today I have a pleasure of meeting with Ajowa, who's our nutritionist, our Recode program coordinator. Ajowa recently joined the clinic, and we just want to get to know you a little bit and just hear what kind of work you do, what kind of patients you like to see, and let's just dive right in.
Okay.
Ajowa, you came to nutrition not early in life. You've had a whole career before, and you've done a lot of different things. Why change of pace? Why drop into nutrition?
Well, I've always been interested in nutrition. I think since I was 18, I went to hear Dick Gregory speak at the University of Florida, where I had just started. And
Mm.
he talked a lot about fasting and how we should do it like once a week to clear our bodies of toxins and give our bodies a rest. And he also advocated these 3-week juice fasts. So I did a 3-week juice fast, and I realized that, once I started back to eat, hard food, that I felt this nausea that I had been having for a couple of years. I'm not even sure how long. I probably had some GI issues as a teenager and didn't realize it. And so that made me kind of test it out to see if the meat, it was actually when I ate meat that I started feeling that again. And I realized that meat was causing me to have this nausea all the time that required me to have something hot like coffee or soup or tea or cocoa in my stomach at all times.
Mhm.
And so that got me interested. So for years, I would read a lot about health. I dived into being a vegetarian, found the only vegetarian restaurant in my little hometown in South Florida. And so all through the years, I've had an interest in it. But it
Mhm.
was only after I had gotten 2 degrees in community economic development and business administration that I realized, I really like this. And all my friends would be asking me different things. And, I was caring for my mother. And so, I was like, I really like this. And so I should do this,
Mm.
do what I really love. And so I decided to go back to school and learn, get the paperwork, get the certification, because I was already helping a lot of people by reading a lot of books and stuff.
You just graduated, right? Just a few months ago?
It's been, 8 months ago.
8 months ago, yeah. So,
Yeah,
so,
when I
so,
finished.
so you did a full nutrition school. Which school did you do?
Maryland University
Uh,
of Integrative Health, which was a
right,
fabulous school.
right. It's a great school, great program. And then so you joined us a bit a while back. I mean, we were supposed to make this video a bit, but life happened. We all had COVID, and then things change, and so I'm glad we're finally catching up. Um, you have a very broad interest.
Yes.
Let's start with, you mentioned, vegetarian diet. You mentioned helping a lot of your friends. What's your sort of favorite patient? Well, I mean, that's kind of a weird question, but what kind of favorite things do you like to work with patients on?
Well, one of my big interests is helping people to eat healthy without a lot of work.
Hmm.
We're all busy, and we kind of know we're supposed to eat healthy, but a lot of people don't really know what to do. And it used to be that we were taught health or some kind of home ec or something in
Hmm.
school, but a lot of that's sort of missing now. And so people, they just have a general idea, but they don't know exactly what's good for them. And so I like coming up with programs or little quick things that people can do to eat healthy and making it fun, because people have this attitude that eating healthy means you're going to be eating rabbit food all the time. and you're not going to have any fun with food. And they immediately, when they hear, nutrition, they immediately get defensive because they feel like you're going to take something away from them that they really like. So I like that. And I really like, in particular, working with older people because we're going through a lot of changes, and we don't often realize that, hey, we're not absorbing food as much. We don't tend to think about our nutrition. We have our habits that we like, and so that's one area. And also younger people too, like early 20s and 30s, because you feel invulnerable then, and you don't realize that that's the time when you're setting a lot up in your body, like, making sure you have enough calcium so that your bones are stronger when, you turn, 60 or 70 and you start losing bone. So you want to set things up so that you have a pretty good quality of life as you age.
Mm.
So, and another thing I really like is working with trauma. A lot of times we don't realize that the things we do with food might be caused by some trauma or ways of coping when we were younger. So we may, eat a little bit more of our cookies and snacks and stuff because that's the only way we're getting joy in our lives. And so, looking at things like that is something that I really have an interest in, because I actually struggle with, eating myself, needing like ice cream or other things to make me feel good. And so it was something I had to deal with myself.
Yeah, I think we all learn best when we have to do something, and then we become good at advocating for others to do that. So let's talk a little bit about sort of how you work. I know your school taught you a lot of motivational skills and sort of how do you change behavior, and now you're, kind of our key person running the memory program, the Recode program, which is, very complicated and takes forever for people to sort of adapt to change. And you mentioned nobody likes to hear, okay, she's taking my food away. But sometimes it's needed, right? I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, you cut out meat and you felt a whole lot better. And we see this, right? I mean, we see this. In fact, probably, I don't know, 50% of people probably should be losing some foods. I mean, when I cut out gluten, I think I felt night and day for a while. So how do you do this? So tell us a little bit about the principles of motivational work and how does this sort of flow, and then also what's the process look like? I mean, do you like to meet with patients once a month? Just a little bit of logistics as well.
Okay. Well, first of all, I like to get into the history of food. We have such histories with food. We might have been forced to eat everything on our plates, and or foods that we didn't like. So I really like to ask people, what's your culture with food? What was it like? To try to get some clues on what people are reacting to when you just talk about health, and then find out the foods that they liked. If they liked a certain vegetable or anything, just find out what they like. And then I try to help them to see some connections. And so if we have to try to introduce a new food or I don't even like to talk about taking away, but limiting certain foods or even exercise. I always say start small. Take, like if you eat a lot of desserts, you might want to limit that to once a week, or in some cases, maybe once a day. And then try different things for dessert. And even with walking, if you need to start walking, you don't start off trying to do 30 minutes. Do a walk around the block, or walk around one lap around the park. so that you slowly acclimate yourself to doing that. You need to cut out carbs. You start with, one carb, one day a week, or if you want to eat, more vegetables or less meat, just have one day that you focus on that and you gradually make the changes. You don't want to do like I did. I stopped everything all at once and I had to kind of,
Sometimes some people, it kind of cold turkey sometimes does work. I mean, I find that occasionally some really strongly motivated patients will dramatically change things. I think then the problem becomes, as you said, if your palate is not adjusting quickly, if your change in taste is so dramatic that the body is going to go berserk on you for a while, you have to have enough willpower to push through. It's not always easy. But there are also some situations like with oxalates, if you've been eating very, very high oxalate foods, like, I don't know, a lot of really green leafy vegetables, a lot of green leafy vegetable juicing, almonds, almond milk. If you do a ton of it and then suddenly you stop all that, you could get really, really toxic because the oxalates are going to start coming out and you may get really sick. So, as you said, we like those changes very, very gradual and very, very slow. So you're running our memory program now. I mean, I think it's a significant portion of what you do and what I do. I mean, we work very closely on that, you and I. Tell us a little bit about that work. So, I know it's new for you, but it's new for everybody. I mean, it's only a few years for me too, probably about 6 or 7 years. And, there's a lot of adaptation going on. The diet is quite specific. We call it KetoFlex. It's a Dale Bredeson's approach. We don't always use it. We use some other diets. And for those who are interested, we will make sure there's a link to the website where you can look at all the details. But, tell us what you've been seeing in terms of patients struggling and the challenges. I mean, it's easy to adapt certain parts of the diet, not so easy others. What have you observed?
Okay, so first of all, a lot of our memory and cognition issues can come from a deficiency in vitamins. And so we have to look at that, making sure that we are getting balanced meals. And in the RICO, that's the name of the program, Reversing Cognitive Decline program, we are trying to get people to focus more on less of those high glycemic foods, your rice, your breads, and those carbs that we love, and eating more vegetables and, a little bit of protein, not a whole lot, but a little bit so that our bodies don't become deficient, but really trying to eat more vegetables, a more variety of vegetables, cooked vegetables as well as raw vegetables, and cutting down the carbs. We do allow some, well, not allow, but you need some carbs and some resistant starches, beans and lentils like that, but not a whole lot because we're trying to really deal with inflammation. A lot of those things can cause a lot of inflammation. And so it's a process where you fast for 12 to 16 hours. Say like if you eat dinner at 6 o'clock, you wouldn't eat again until after 6 a.m. for 12 whole hours, and sometimes even longer than that, 16 hours. So it might be noon or sometimes 2 o'clock before people eat. But you're eating enough fats and other foods that allow you to do that without being hungry. And one of the key things is eat coconut oil and olive oil, good oils and good fats, and that keeps you from getting hungry. And also, you're not snacking after you eat. You're not snacking, and so that keeps your hormones intact, so that you can start to recognize when you are getting out of hand. because when you snack, it disrupts the leptin cycle, which is a hormone that lets us know when we're hungry
Mhm.
and or full. So if you snack all the time, you kind of disrupt that whole
Well, and
process.
also if you snack on carbs, you're also going to have this sugar spikes, which of course the whole point here is to try to level the sugar as low as possible, since we know that sugar as a burn, as a fuel for brain is not the best. We tend to produce too much garbage when we burn carbs, so to speak. And so that's why, there's a whole idea of trying to burn more fat to fuel the brain, which seems to benefit tremendous number of patients. And not 100% needed, right? We don't have all of our patients on keto flex. Some patients just can't tolerate it, and then we'll have them on some kind of a, maybe a plant-based, maybe
Mediterranean.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. It's not a question. It's a statement. I've been lately fascinated by sort of this idea that there's kind of a best diet for everybody, right? Like we keep looking for that like magic bullet. Like the Americans always looking for a magic solution for everything. There was a keto, it was an Atkins diet, and then there was this diet and that diet. Now it's plant-based. The reality is way more complex, right? I mean, we're as you said, I mean, we all have different cultural backgrounds, and we eat differently. As for Tell us about your cultural foods. What's your favorite cultural food?
Okay, so I came from South Florida, and so a lot of my favorite cultural foods are Caribbean island foods. Peas and rice, fish, lots of vegetables, lots of mango, banana, and those kinds of fruit,
Uh-huh.
which I try to limit. And actually, I can't even get the mangoes like I used to. Um, but yeah,
Wait, why?
so
Why? I mean, we have mangoes here, just not different taste.
different, yeah, different types. There's, a certain type of mango that was really popular in South Florida and that you don't see a lot in stores.
Hmm.
And, when my mother was alive, she would just send me boxes of mangoes, in August. This time of year, I would get boxes of mangoes. Oh, I don't have that anymore. But yeah, lots of fruit, vegetables, rice and beans or rice and peas, fish, lots of heavy fish, um, snapper, grouper, some of those fish that aren't as good for you that we're learning now.
That's right.
Are not as good for you because
That's
they
right.
are high in
So
mercury.
for those of you who are wondering what is that we're talking about? It's all about mercury. I mean, we actually see quite a lot of mercury toxicity in our patients. So that's what go with the safer mercury fish like salmon, sardines, and small fish. Yeah.
Right, and avoid that Swiss fish.
Or
It's
fish, yeah.
amazing that people don't know how
People
dangerous.
don't know. Isn't that crazy? Like there's so many simple realities like this that somehow, I mean, a lot of people do know, of course, but like it's not a common knowledge. I mean, unless you look for it, you're just not going to find it. Like this whole new thing with heavy metals in chocolate. Like now everybody talking about it, but like the reality is there are probably a lot of complexities in nutrition that we're kind of just learning, and you sort of spearheading this at CIM for us. What's your sort of most fascinating, like what have you been most fascinated nutrition wise in the last few weeks, few months?
Well, I am really fascinated with the role of the probiotics in our bodies. First of all, they're everywhere and they're different in every parts of our bodies. And if our gut is unhealthy, it can travel up to our brains and cause problems. It can, bad if you eat too much sugar and the bad guys get out of balance, they can travel to sensitive spots in your body and cause breast cancer or, contribute to it
Mhm.
and those kinds of things. So, but we're not taught about probiotics, and some people still don't believe in them. So, I really love the idea of making sure we get enough fermented foods in our diet, and taking probiotics and prebiotics, the food that the good bacteria live on. So I really like that. And of course I love all kinds of vegetables and raw
Well,
vegetables.
vegetables are all full of prebiotics, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
healthy prebiotics. We're not talking about, as you said, simple carbs and simple sugars are generally, bad prebiotics because you're gonna have some growth. Yeah, and we, of course, you and I been working on this quite a lot. I mean, we all know that patients with Alzheimer's disease all have disrupted microbiome. That's been already proven, and now we have a clinical trial that's looking at what is that disruption and can we fix that disruption with the things you're mentioning: fermented foods, prebiotic rich foods, certain vegetables, maybe even probiotics, right? Maybe even capsules.
Yes.
Although we don't have a data on that, but which we're gonna try to come up with the protocols for that and study them. So we definitely think that that's a future, and as I mentioned, you're kind of the lead person in our clinic to do that. So if you were to give our listeners one advice, like, because we talked about all kinds of things today, but if there be one advice that they can do to improve their diet, to have like the biggest bang for their buck, what would that be?
I would say eat more vegetables and more of a variety of your vegetables. Some of us tend to just eat the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
huge problem.
yeah, if you see purple carrots, try purple carrots,
Yeah.
red okra.
Other cultures are not that, right? So there are a lot of cultures in the world where the meals are much more varied. Why did we get here? Like, why do you think it's such a common phenomenon in states?
I think, it's not profitable to have a lot of different varieties.
Mhm.
It's simpler to have two or three varieties or, just one. And, it's easy to transport and bring in, and we only get exposed to that. But
Mhm.
I think when we open up and we taste different foods from different cultures, we learn a lot more. Our palates are satisfied. I discovered Indian food and I just loved all the spices and, different ways that even cooking okra. I came from a culture that ate a lot of okra, but I love the way Indians cook the okra and even make okra fries and stuff like that. So, I think as we learn more about the nutritional value of different colored fruit and vegetables, that we'll be exposed to more and demand more, and then the market will respond.
Right, right. Well, it's so wonderful talking to you. I think in the next few months, I think we're going to do a bit more on the memory. I think it's time for us to do another open house. So maybe we'll target the open house towards the lifestyle. So, have you and maybe Sally kind of cover most of that. But thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you.
very, very, very good. I hope listeners like this. And if you have questions, send us messages. Of course, I'm gonna make sure that we have the links to your bio on the website and to the Recode program. And if there's anything else you want to include, we'll make sure we'll put that in the links. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much. This is GW Center for Integrative Medicine. We were talking with Ajowa, the nutritionist and the Recode program coordinator. Thank you so much for listening.